Join Hans and Scotty G Thursday from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. DJ and PK, we're joined now by Jay Stevens, NHL and Utah Mammoth insider for the Zone and host of the Utah Puck Report podcast. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Before we get talking about the NHL Draft at the end of the week, the news from this weekend, the Grizzlies are selling, and that probably means relocating. I would think that has to be pretty far down the road before someone issues a statement like that on social media and gives so many details. And at the same time, they're going to play here for another year, so it's not done. What do you know about the transition sitting in front of the Utah Grizzlies?
Yeah, I think you're dead on as far as they're pretty far down the road with this. I think we have a front runner of where the team is going, and that's going to be they're heading to Trenton, New Jersey. That used to have the Trenton Titans in the ECHL. It could be that we kind of forced their hands with KSL Sports. We found out about this going on, and you know, I was asking them for more information, and they were surprised that we knew about it. And then instead of telling us, they just made their own press release. So I think maybe we forced their hand, but I think you're dead right with them being pretty far down the road with this.
So what do you think, one more season?
Yeah, one more season for sure. I think this is basically a done deal as far as, you know, they're not going to be here next year. And there's not a plan to have a team at the Maverik Center after this season.
What happens to the Maverik Center now, you think?
You know, I just wrote a story. It'll be popping up on KSL Sports here pretty soon. That building's too perfect with everything else that's going on. I mean, that's a hockey-specific building. Somebody's going to put a team in there. There's multiple teams around here that could take it. We have junior A teams that could move in and take it. I could see SEG making another attempt to at least get a lease there and put a minor league team there. You know, it makes more sense to have our American League team here in Utah rather than keep them in Tucson. And the owner of Tucson is planning on moving them to Reno anyway. So there's a lot of steps that have to be taken, but I could see that being an AHL building for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's too valuable of a building to the community with concerts and the stuff that they have going on there. So if you brought in a hockey team to fill some more nights, then I think it would continue as is.
Yeah, and that's definitely the case too. That's what they're planning on. That's what they're saying they're going to do. It's going to be a concert venue. I think they're going to keep basketball there. I believe the Jazz G League still plays there. So they're definitely planning on keeping the building going. They just hired a new general manager for the Maverik Center. So I can see all of that still happening, but you know, that's a lot of empty nights without a hockey team there.
Right.
Well, there is an audience for minor league. I mean, obviously the tickets are priced differently, so there's that. So if the AHL is coming back one day, I would think the people like minor league hockey would be pretty pumped about that.
Well, yeah, it's such an affordable family fun option, right? You can, you know, if you look at the way Vegas has their AHL team just down the street, and if you can't afford to go to a Vegas game, you can go to a Henderson Silver Knights game. Tickets are like $10. They have flash sales all the time where they'll text you and say, hey, right now, bring your whole family for $25. So it's way more affordable. It's a lot of fun. You'd see high draft picks for the Mammoth and playing against high draft picks for whatever team they're playing against. So it's, you know, the AHL would be ideal there. And, yeah, so much cheaper than going to an NHL game, and you're still seeing future NHL talent.
The arc of the Mammoth, it's obvious. You can just look at their record and you can see the last several years, the level of improvement, and we're all anticipating more to come, certainly. And I'm wondering how this relates to the draft and is connected to the draft. And what I mean by this is they needed players to step up, and they brought up a bunch of younger players, and they've done well. Well, now they're in a good spot. Continue to improve. Your team will improve. The individuals will improve. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect their outlook as far as the draft, because that if you've got a bunch of young players, and obviously that's what you want every time you go for a draft, but there wouldn't necessarily be that pressure, man, we got to get somebody who could be at the NHL level as soon as possible because we're losing and we want to win. They're going to win going forward. So I'm wondering how you think that might play into it.
I think it's going to – you make great points on all of that. It's a lot to think about, right? Like, you could trade this pick and kind of bring yourself a veteran that's been in the NHL already and kind of slow the pace a little bit, let the other guys come up slower, or you can't just stick with the plan. They're planning on drafting somebody that would be in the system in the next couple of years. There are players available now that could come in right now and make a difference for Utah, and then also, get better and better and better. And that's the plan, right? We're thinking 3 more years out. The team should be, they're planning on making the playoffs this year. Hopefully we get through a round, but 3 years down the road, we should be a really competitive team with guys with a lot of NHL experience. And if you look at the guys that are on this chart, and it's so hard, even the experts, almost every expert you look at has Utah picking a different player. Did I cut you off? Sorry.
No, it just cracks me up. No consensus at all. That many different names.
The 1 and 2 are pretty much a solid thing, but what Chicago does is going to surprise a lot of people, because nobody really knows where they're at in their rebuild. Where they're rumored to be going after some pretty big talent and trying to solidify their roster right now. So does that mean they go for somebody that makes the team right now? Or, Chicago's really throwing a wrench in it for Utah. I think Utah's after this, either Porter Martone or Brady Martin are players that will come in. They've got some sandpaper to their game. There'll be some grit in front of the net, and maybe compete for that second-line center and then give us the chance to move Cooley around a little bit. Second-line center in the NHL is really hard to play for anybody. So to draft a guy who's playing juniors right now and expect him to play second-line center next year in the NHL is a big ask, but these top 5 picks could probably do it.
Do you expect a lot of change to the roster? Are there a lot of guys who are decent NHL players and they're going to look to upgrade, or is they're going to bring the core of these guys back and basically run it back again?
The core will basically be back. I do expect to see a few names change here, with Michelli probably being gone. I think Bukestad's trying free agency. So there's a few guys that might not be back, and we're looking to fill those spots with the Russians that we just signed. We've got some real depth with this team, so I know they're going to be wanting to get more players in. So even if a guy stays on the roster, you're looking at the potential of them being healthy scratched so that we could see a young person come in and play 5-10 games this year and just start gaining that experience that you're not getting in the AHL. So, yeah, I think the roster is going to be different. And, the fans that just adopted this team so hard that anytime you bring that up or talk about it, they get super defensive and sad about it. But I think it's time we see some young guys come up and start earning their spot and take us, so they can take us down that road in the future here in the NHL.
How about with goalkeeper? Obviously, the Connor Ingram situation, I don't know what's going on there. What do they need to do to stabilize that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's really hard to say what's going on with Ingram. I hear he's doing well, but I don't officially know anything about what's going on with him. But we've got depth in goal. We have a few kids last year that were super good for us in the system, and then we also have this Michael Hrabel, who's playing college right now, that is supposed to be the future in goaltending for the Utah Mammoth. But we still have Thalen Milker, who's been playing, and Matt Vallada, who played a lot of games last year in Tucson, who's a phenomenal interview. If he gets pulled up, you guys got to get him on your show. He's so entertaining. And then
That's what we like.
Yeah, he's entertaining. He's funny. One of the best interviews I've ever had with a professional athlete. He's just smart, so laid back. He's not your typical goalie. And he had a phenomenal season last year. Played 43 games, had a 90% save average, almost 91%, had 4 shutouts. Jackson Stauber was our guy last year. Either one of those guys could come up and back up Vejmelka for the rest of the season. So whether Connor's in or not, we do have depth there. And then, like I said, the future of our team's still in college. And he's a big boy, 6'6" goaltender out of UMass Lowell. So I think we're set with goaltending. Wouldn't surprise me if they went out and got another one, but I think we're good.
Well, the plan is for the Mammoth to climb in the West. That means somebody has to drop. Who in the West looks vulnerable?
Right now, nobody, right? Because the West is the best that we've got. And you saw what happened with Nashville last year. I can't see them having another horrible season like they had this past season. You know, they went out and they got every free agent available. Everybody thought they were going to be the best team in the West, and they just struggled the whole time. The Jets just got better. They picked up Jonathan Taves, who hasn't played a game in 2 years, but is one of the best players in the history of the game. So it's going to have to be. Yeah, we're going to have to see some movement with Colorado, which also doesn't seem likely. But you know, as we get going further this 2 or 3 years, I think those teams are going to be vulnerable. So I think the team we're going to have to knock off, just like we were trying to knock them off this year, we're going to be battling with the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild. And neither of those teams are making the huge moves to solidify their roster right now. So I think those are the two teams you need to watch and hope struggle for Utah to make the playoffs.
Jay, we appreciate it. Thanks for some time. If you want more hockey, the Utah Puck Report, Jay's your guy. Jay, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good morning.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up, Jay Drew, beat writer for the Deseret News for the BYU Cougars, is going to join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We'll talk recruiting with him. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.